Hello, my name is Jacob. I have a 2005 Mazda RX-8 GT with a manual transmission in white. I've had the car since mid-2014, coming up on 6 years now, and I really love that car. I looked at other options and things, but the RX-8 is really just a car that I really love. It makes me feel nice and special, and I have fun with it. So, in the story that I'm about to tell, that I'm still dealing with to this day, just know that I really love that car, and that's why I even did this in the first place. So our story starts at the end of February 2019. My friend wanted to ride in the car. I've been talking it up for so long. He'd never ridden it before. He doesn't know anything about rotaries or what they're like. We go get some food, and on the way back, getting on the highway, sudden kind of like jolt in power, and I saw the heat gauge going way up, so I turned off the car, pulled over to the side of the road, and got a tow off the side of the road at like midnight to shop number 1. When I got there, I left a little note saying, push the car into the bay, there is no coolant, do not try to start it, that sort of thing. The next day, I got a phone call saying, hey, we got your car, this is how much diagnosis is, can we start work? Yep, got my note, yep. So a couple hours later, I get a call saying, hey, so your car starts and runs just fine, but you blew a radiator, so what do you want us to do about this? Our supplier and fees and all that is going to be like $600 for the radiator and then labor. And I I said, please don't turn the car over. It has no coolant. It's a rotary. It'll overheat immediately. But if I'm spending $600 on a radiator, I want to upgrade radiators. And what I ended up doing is buying a Koyo radiator for $280 and a thermostat for $50 to go with it. The shop says, okay, fine. Until your parts get in, you can't park it here. We have limited parking space, so park it somewhere else. I had it pushed into the parking lot right next door over like a grass median, and it was a couple days later. It's funny, it actually delivered to my old house, and I had to go there and play charades with the new owner trying to get my package because he didn't speak English. I got my parts, I brought it to him, and it took like a week, and I really wasn't hearing anything from them, so I called, and they said, yeah, we can't get it to start anymore, so we haven't done your radiator yet. And I repeated, if you remember, I had you push it into the parking lot next door because it has no coolant, it has no radiator, you shouldn't be starting it. It will overheat immediately. So at this point, I'm kind of done with that. It's March 12th. I have it towed to shop number 2. Once it gets there, they say that they'll replace the radiator and all that, and the labor and fluids and everything's $550. That's fine. But on the 18th, whenever they had all that done, they say that they needed to look into this a little bit more because they don't know too much about rotaries, but it's not good. Find out that my engine's blown. And that's the point where I start looking for alternatives here. I looked into ordering an engine and just having them replace it. They charge $2,000 for labor on the removal and reinstallation of a new engine. It was going to cost, I think, $3,800 to get like a nice engine off eBay from, I forget where it was, or a Mazda Reman was about $3,000 at that point. So I wanted to look at other options. I looked into shipping it to, I think, Atkins Rotary, but that was going to be, I don't have my car with me, big deal. It was going to be like over $8,000 if I got what I wanted. So I was asking around, and a guy in the area with a Cosmo 20B, trust shop number 3, what's eventually going to be shop number 3, with his car and his engine. And I figure if he can trust him, he's a rotary specialist, all he does is rotaries, then I should probably trust him too with my Renesis for a significant amount less. So I talk with the guy. He starts quoting me through email, says $900 on labor on rebuilding, $1,000 to remove the engine and reinstall the engine, $1,200 for a rebuild kit. If I need new housings, if they're warped from overheating, it's $200 a piece. I wanted to port my engine, so I was gonna be something like $600 per rotor at that point, or $300 per rotor, $600 total. And altogether, with the tow and everything, I was looking at $3,600 to $5,630 for everything, full stop. And that sounded fair to me. I was hoping it would be on the lower end, but that sounded fair. He said it would take 4 to 6 weeks, and he'd get back to me with the time frame. On the 25th, he tells me it's going to be about May. I say that's fine, so I had the car towed back to my house. No word for a full month, so April 26th, I asked him, are we still on schedule? Did you want to pick it up kind of early in May? And he said, yeah, we'll have to see about that. So on the 17th, after some back and forth, I paid $1,050 for him to start work, and on the 30th of May is when he picked up the car. On the 14th of June is when he told me he's finally got it scheduled to actually remove the engine, 2 weeks into our 4 to 6 week estimate, but whatever. And at the same time, he asked, hey, do you know anybody who knows how to make a website? Or do you know how to make a website? said, yeah, I've made websites before. I have two myself. I've got a good bit of experience. If you want a website, I can make you one. And he said, cool, you're the guy, you're the man. How much do you want to be paid for it? And I told him, you're doing me a favor by working on my car and making it better than ever before. Just pay me what you think is fair if you feel like you have to pay me. I was going to do it for free if you wanted me to, but this ends up being $400. We'll come back to that. On the 24th of June is when I got to sign into the website for the first time. I helped get it off the park page so that it could actually be designable. It wasn't a website builder I was familiar with, and I don't really like the website builders anyway. I usually like kind of writing things myself. HTML is one of the only things I actually know. So, whatever. But I want him to be able to edit the site himself when he's done, so I'm going to make the site with his editor. On the 30th is when he said that the engine was pulled, and he said, since it's out, I have a remanufactured Mazda engine just here anyway. Would you like to just buy that instead? And he kind of convinced me into it. He said that it was going to be $4,200 down to $3,800 since I was helping out with the website. And if I do this, I'll get the car back in half the time, which is great because at this point he's had it for a full month, and I just asked what the turnaround time will be. He tells me the next day, if there are no unforeseen issues, if all goes well, you'll be driving it by the end of this month, no later than mid-August timeframe. On the 2nd, I pay him $3,350.28 for the engine and another $3 due to a pricing error. I got some pictures of my engine on the 3rd and some compression scores. Throughout the entirety of the next month, basically nothing we said was about my car. It was almost exclusively about the website. I was texting him almost every day saying, hey, what do you think of this color? What do you think of this gradient? Do you like this? What should this form say? Do you like how I worded this? Is this okay? Do the testimonials go here? Does this do this? Do you like this picture? Which one should be like the forefront picture you see? Just general website questions. I want to make the website as best as I possibly can for him, and I've made a Facebook account. I don't have Facebook. I don't like Facebook. I made one to download all of his pictures and videos and things to put on the website for him, and this would have all the pricing built into it so you knew exactly what to expect, and it would send an email to him. He wanted the website to have like an actual checkout, and I didn't think that was a wise idea, and it was going to be hard to implement anyway because nobody's spending $5,000 without talking to him first. So the forum was the way to go. You know, things like this. A whole month where basically all the back and forth is just me asking, how do you like things on the website? On the 2nd of August, found that an OMP line was broken. He suggested replacing them all. I got a picture of my clutch and flywheel on the engine, but the engine wasn't in the car yet. On the 12th, the new OMP lines were delivered. He's going on a trip for a week. I say okay. On the 24th, he said that the lines are installed, the intake and runners are clean, and it should be driving again real soon for the end of summer, fall weather. Okay. Hadn't heard anything for a while, so on the 9th I asked if there's any progress has been made. It's been weeks since I've heard anything about the car. His website's done. He says, actually, he has my car at shop number 4 because he has a guy there who's done a ton of engine installs for him before. He's just real busy. He has a new shop he's trying to deal with. So this guy's going to install the engine for you. I trust him. He's helped me with RX-8 installs before. He knows what he's doing. He's a good guy. I'm kind of ticked off because, I went to shop number 3 because he's the rotary specialist for the area. He's the only guy that exclusively does rotaries. If anybody's going to know what's right and what's wrong, it's going to be him. That's why I went to him. Otherwise, I could have just done shop number 2 and I would have paid him more, but I could have just done that instead. But I'm nice about it. I say, okay, if you trust him, that's fine. Go ahead and do that. And right afterwards say, oh, and also, they damaged the bumper in towing it to their shop, but luckily it's a prop paint shop, so they should be able to get it done correctly for you. So he gave away my car without asking me and just did it, and they damaged it in the process. And I don't know when this was. The only reason he said anything to me that day is because I asked him for progress. I hadn't heard from him in almost 2 weeks. But, okay. I'm going to be nice about it. If they make it right, if they repaint it and everything gets fixed the way that it should, okay, it's fine. It's fine. I'll deal with it. It's fine. I asked for pictures of the damage because I want to know just how bad it was. It went a couple days and I hadn't gotten the pictures. I hadn't heard anything back, so I said, can I please get those pictures? I really want to know how hurt my car is. I'll drive by myself if you can't. It's fine. It's no big deal. It's not too out of the way for me. And then finally I get pictures of my bumper. It's not that bad. They just rubbed the tow cable on it because they cut the corner too hard. And it could have been worse, but still, as long as they make it right, it'll be fine. On the 20th, I'd still heard nothing, so I had asked if there was an estimate on when things were going to get done. On the 21st, I asked again and didn't hear anything. On the 30th, I finally got some pictures of the car with no bumper on it and some pictures of the damage getting puttied over, but the engine's not in yet. And he says that if the engine's not in by that upcoming weekend, he'd pick it up and do it himself. Good. The guy I paid to do a job will do it himself. Good to know. On the 6th of October, I ask him what happened. I'll check with him today. On the 7th, he says he's going to get it and put it in himself. Then on the 8th, I get pictures of the car being towed back in and the engine's back in his shop. On the 14th, he started on the install, got the harness in. He said he was going through the box of parts, and unraveling someone else's work is always a head scratcher. And of course, shop number 4 forgot to give him the gasket set for the intake and exhaust, so we're going to have to wait for those. On the 18th, I asked for progress. He said he's got those gaskets. He fixed some injector wiring because shop number 4 couldn't remove the clip and just cut the wires. Why not? So he soldered that and put new connectors on it. Should be getting some good progress that weekend. On the 19th, I got some pictures of an empty hole in my car with the ignition on the side of the engine. And finally, a picture of the engine in the empty hole in my car. He says he's going to get it in place, but he'll finish it the next day. On the 20th, I got a video of my car running with the new engine and billowing smoke out the back. I asked him to replace the catalytic converter with the one I gave him because the one I gave him had no honeycomb. I punched it out. The one that was on there was just so I could pass emissions. It just happened to still be on there. And the smoke was all coolant smoke, so I mentioned that and said, please change it out. On the 23rd, he bled the clutch, and shop number 4 brought the battery over because he couldn't find the old one. Always a great sign when they can't find my parts. Okay. Said the car drives fine, the clutch is good, just waiting for that bumper to get put back on, so we're waiting for shop number 4, the guy who damaged it, to right his wrongs and paint the bumper and give it back so I can get my car. I mentioned on the 24th the coolant smoke again and asked if he had it swapped over. He said he hadn't yet, but he'd get it done. Okay, fine, whatever. He also suggested getting a header and an air pump delete. I asked for quotes, but the header was just way too expensive. I've spent all this money and I still don't have a car, so we're going to have to put that off. And the air pump delete, he thinks it's wise. It's not that expensive. I say, sure, just once we get a little closer to things. On the 25th, I got a final invoice of $630 to finish work, and the mileage on that invoice was 130,210. I'm just going to assume that's what it was whenever he picked up the car, because I actually don't have that written down anywhere. But when I picked it up, it was a good amount more. I also paid him to get the safety and emissions done before we started all this because it wasn't registered, and that's what's going to be coming up next. On the 26th, he says I should do that air pump delete now, so I said, okay, we're good. Here's $105. $95 was for labor, $10 for parts, and I'll do what you say. You know best. If you say I need this, I'll do this. I didn't argue with them. If he thinks it's fair, I'll pay that. On the 30th, I asked for progress on the bumper. He sent them a text. On the 31st, I got a picture of the fully puttied bumper, but it wasn't painted yet. He said he'd get it done that night. On the 2nd of November, the bumper is finally put back on. Now, at this point, we just need to wait for him to get the inspections all taken care of so I can get the car registered. On the 3rd of November, I asked if I could pick it up that Tuesday, if all was done. On the 4th, he mentioned that it was stalling out and running rough, which is what we're going to be dealing with here later. He said it was running really lean. He thought it was the fuel pump. I told him I had it replaced 2 years prior. On the 5th, he said it got through 15 miles of lots of traffic with no problems. He's cleaned the mass airflow sensor and thinks that was it. He replaced the screws with longer ones because the old ones weren't grabbing, and now it's not having any issues at all. If he will give it to me on the 7th as long as it passes inspections that day. He didn't give it to the inspectors until the 7th, so whatever. It ended up failing. He suggested some alternatives, and that was an O2 spacer. The 8th, it had more check engine lights. It was running too lean. It started doing that issue again. He says other than the pump, he thinks it's the injectors, the harness, but beyond that, he doesn't really know what it could be. The fuel line was fine. It wasn't leaking, and he said he never had to get an RX-8 through emissions, which is great because he sounded really confident whenever I asked if he could do that. On the 9th, he said he was waiting on the evap system to test. I asked him if the stalling thing was still happening, and he never answered. On the 10th, he got that O2 spacer, and I suggested a mini cat. He got kind of snippy with me at this point. He said, because my friend's the one who recommended it, well, if your friend says that the mini cat's going to work, then just take it to your friend. No, you can do what you want. He ended up ordering that mini cat. He got it in on the 14th, and on the 15th, it finally passed emissions and safety. I picked up the car at 130,493 miles the next day, and I had to pay $904.22 for completion of work instead of the $630 I was quoted before. I picked it up, was having fun. Did almost 200 miles that day. Stalled out a couple of times. Once on the highway whenever I put it in neutral to go around a circle, and once at a stoplight just out of nowhere. But otherwise, it pretty well ran fine. Got a P0139 code for the rear O2 sensor, but didn't really consider it a big deal. He said it's not a big deal. He would have masked it if he still had the car. On the 18th, that stalling issue's back, and it's really running rough, and it's worrying me, so I decide not to drive the car except to, get things done. The 20th, I go to the Mazda dealer and get a recall done for the fuel system. It was said that they didn't see anything wrong, and they touched up a wiring harness back there. On the way home from there, I was stuck on the side of the road because the car would turn over and then immediately die. And for the 1 second it would be on, if that, it wouldn't really move, basically, at all. I had to get towed off the side of the road to a shop, and I had my friend pick me up. Mileage was at 130,706 at this point. On the 23rd, I asked for progress. He says he's been working on it most of the day and thinks it's a primary fuel injector. My only thought on that is, if it's been using the exact same gasoline for this entire time, it's never been drained, wouldn't the gas go bad in, like, the 7 months since I brought it to you and ruin a primary fuel injector? Anyway, I didn't say that to him. I'm just going to keep my mouth shut. He should be knowing what he's doing. So he said we should replace both if we're getting in there anyway. I say sure. He quoted me $375 for the parts. The next day, because of labor, it was $827. The injectors delivered on the 1st of December. And he also got new connectors because the old ones fell apart when they removed them. On the 6th, he had it all done, so I went and got it, paid him the $827, and I didn't really drive it that much, but by the 10th, it was doing the exact same thing as before. Mileage was now at 130,866. He came and picked the car up on the 14th, tried out a new MAF sensor, and it did the exact same thing. Did the 20 brake pedal stomp thing, didn't help at all. On the 16th, he tells me really confidently that it's a bad coil and I need to get Black Halo Racing to replace it, and I did. I got that for free, and I feel bad for Charles over there because evidently I didn't need it, because after I paid shop number 3 $95 on the 22nd, it started doing the exact same thing not 30 miles later, not even 3 hours. Mileage at 130,901. I just barely got it home, and it just sat there. The next day, shop number 3 tells me, well, then it definitely needs a new wiring harness or ECU. I mentioned that I've had an ECU in the backseat of this car throughout this entire mess, and I told them about that before he even took it. I don't think they ever tried it. It's still there. I say I'm really broke. I'm currently in the process of dealing with my other car, and I'm also trying to move because I got to be out of here, in like 2 months. And I need to wait. On the 31st, mileage was at 130,918. I drove it twice on a really short distance, and it was having issues at the end of both of those, so it is what it is. On the 7th, I lost my other car, my 1986 Caprice Classic. That one, a couple months prior, I loaned it to my friend while he was in town, and he accidentally drove it 30 miles an hour into like 6 inches of standing water, and it drowned. And for 4 months, I had been paying this guy to fix the car because he convinced me that it was fixable and I shouldn't junk it, before finding out that he absolutely ruined that car. But that's a story for another time. The 7th's just the day that I had to have it towed to a chop shop where it was destroyed, and that's in the story because it makes me sad. I couldn't afford to fix it right because I was dealing with my RX-8 still. So I lost my Caprice, my great-grandpa's Caprice. Moving on the 22nd, I talked to shop number 5 about coming and picking up the car. He was recommended to me by a friend from work, says that he can come get it really soon. I give him a bunch of Reddit links that I made. He says he'll get it. 2.5 weeks later, I think it is, on the 11th of February, I hadn't heard back, so I asked what's up. I said I need to get the car away. I'm moving. I really need this gone. He says that he'll tow it, and he's going to shoot for next week. On the 18th, I asked if he wanted to come get it. No answer. On the 20th, I said, really, I'm running out of time here. He said he'll do it tomorrow or the next Monday. Tomorrow comes, can't make it. Monday comes, says it's drizzling, doesn't want to do it in the rain, canceled. So the 25th, I'd say I'm off all the next day, and he finally comes, gets it on the 26th. He wanted me to pay him the $100 on the spot, even though I wanted to just lump it into our total. I wasn't going to argue, so I said, here's your $100, and I paid him. That was on the 26th of February. On the 6th of March, I asked for progress. No answer. On the 13th of March, I asked for progress. He says he's swamped. He'll pull it in on Monday. On the 20th, I asked for progress. I have it in the shop, but no good news yet. On the 27th, I asked for progress. No answer. On the 28th, I asked for progress. Says he's not been working on it because of all the BS that's going on, and he's hoping to get to work soon and make some progress. On the 8th of April, I gave it some more time this time. I messaged twice with no answer, a couple hours apart, couldn't get a response, so I messaged shop number 3 again and asked if he'd be willing to work on it again. I mentioned that I'm pretty angry about how this has all turned out because it's been, at this point, a year and a month, over that, and I've spent probably $9,000 something, over $6,000 to him, and I still don't have a working car. And his response to me was, if it's making you angry, you should probably think about getting rid of it and finding something newer with less problems. Okay, I'll just throw away the $6,000 or so I paid you for this car and everything else and all my time and all this, and just forget about it. This isn't worth anything. You're right, just get rid of the car. Obviously, I'm not too happy with that response, and I don't want to take it back to shop number 3 ever, because I don't really think he cares about me, even after all that time I put into his website. I messaged my friend from work again, who recommended shop number 5 to me. He said he's going to call him, he's going to work it out. Didn't get an answer from anybody. It was a long weekend, so on the 14th, figured I gave it enough time. I couldn't get an answer from him still, so messaged my friend from work. Not 30 minutes later, he said, I think it's the ECU or the wiring harness. Definitely one of them. The same thing that shop number 3 said. He said he's spent some time going through the wiring, and I mentioned that there's an ECU in the back seat if you think that's the problem, and his only response was, I'll get a quote together for you. In other words, he didn't read what he said, and okay, whatever. So on the 15th, I asked about that quote, didn't get an answer. On the 16th, I called him twice, no answer. On the 20th, I sent him another text, no answer. Called, no answer. So I gave up. I messaged my friend again. He said he's going to talk with another shop and they'll work it out. 2 days later, here we are. It's today, April 22nd. I say I don't want to give this guy any money. He's not doing the work. I don't think he's ever going to do the work. I need to take it somewhere else. I think we'll actually do the work. If he's not doing anything, I haven't paid him yet. I don't think he's going to do anything if I do pay him. So at this point, I decided I needed to actually get something done, go somewhere with an actual reputation, and it's now going to a Mazda dealer. I still can't get a hold of shop number 5, so my friend from work gets a hold of him, and he says, okay, come get the car. Didn't really care. Funnily enough, he said he's not going to charge me for the time he put into it. And I suppose that's probably for the best. At least he was a nice guy about it. He could have charged me for that 5 seconds every morning that he glanced at it out in the parking lot while driving in. If we total that up, that's what, 5 seconds a day, 56 days, comes out to a little under 5 minutes total at $100 an hour. Yeah, he saved me like $10. Good guy. Really appreciate it. So I had the car towed today. I wasn't there for it. It cost me $190 to tow it 30-something miles. But it gets there, and the tow truck driver calls me, and I ask him, hey, since you've got the car, can you do me a favor and write down the mileage on the odometer? And he tells me he can't, because the battery's dead. So shop number 5 did literally nothing in this entire time. They had it for 56 days and did literally nothing. And I'm just kind of screwed as a result. I wasted 2 months of my time, $100 to him, however much I spent in insurance, probably close to $200. And I just wasted all of that time. So at any rate, that's pretty well the whole story up to today. Now on to some of the numbers and how much I spent. Shop number 1, I paid $120 for their diagnosis. They never did any of the work with the radiator, so even though I'm quite very confident they blew my engine by not doing what I said, I'd take my lumps. It's not worth fighting over, and I don't know how I'd prove it, so here we go. So they got $120. Shop number 2 got $550 for the radiator thermostat installation and then the little diagnosis that they did to find out that my engine was blown. Shop number 3, they had the car for 170 days. My quote was 28 to 42 days. It took them over 4 times longer than the maximum they quoted me. And I'm pretty sure it's their fault anyway. We'll come back to that. I paid shop number 3 $6,324.93. In addition to that, I paid $153.14 in PayPal fees because that's how he wanted paid. He wanted paid via PayPal. So a lot of money, but just get rid of it. Just throw it away. You know, if the car's making you angry, just throw it away. No, the car's not making me angry. You're making me angry because I'm pretty sure this is your fault. You didn't right your wrongs. You took 4 times longer than you were supposed to, and I still don't have a working car. Anyway, shop number 4, I didn't pay any money directly because that was all through shop number 3. So shop number 5, I paid him $100 to tow the car. He had the car for 56 days and did literally nothing. I mean, worse than nothing. He wasted my time. That's the only thing he did. I can't do anything about it, so I guess I'm just stuck with that. I paid rounding the tows that I don't have the exact totals for, $889.90 in towing alone. Whenever I come back to the total, 200 of that will be deducted because 100 of it was to shop number 3 and 100 to shop number 5. I had to pay for 7 tows in total. That's including the one today. It's now at that Mazda dealer. They told me it's going to be about 200 for diagnosis or troubleshooting, but until I have a total on that, it's not going to be in the grand total I'm about to give. In outside parts that I bought, I paid $2,158.29. It was anything that was suggested to me or anyone thought might be a good idea I went with. It was that thermostat, the Koyo radiator, a 2 kilowatt starter, a full Black Halo racing ignition kit, a full Sone adapter kit, which is great because topping off the oil kind of sucks sometimes. Black Halo racing flywheel and counterweight, and an Exidy Stage 1 clutch kit. If I got the engine out anyway, most of the labor on a clutch is going to be labor. The cost on the clutch is going to be labor, so buy it now, save some money in the long run. It's at 130,000 miles. May as well do it now. The parts that I bought from shop number 3 were the entire remanufactured engine, which included rotors, housings, and oil pan, the OEM seals, apex side, that sort, primary fuel injectors, clips for the fuel injectors, the spacer and mini cat, and the restrictor plate for the air pump delete. So overall, my total is $10,096.26. $10,096.26 in just under a year and 2 months of not having my car. In that time, the car was drivable for about a week that I had it. And I did close to 350, 400 miles personally, and I still don't have my car. I am going absolutely insane. I keep on paying people to do things, and then they don't do it, or they do it wrong. And I do think shop number 3 genuinely screwed something up with installation or removal, or shop number 4 screwed it up, and shop number 3 should be on the hook for that, because they gave it to them without my permission. Especially if it's that harness that they mentioned. That's definitely something that would have been nicked or damaged during installation, and that's kind of on them, but yet I'm the one dealing with it. So at any rate, that kind of brings us up to today. I pretty well don't understand why this has been going on as long as it has, but I am going kind of insane. Anytime anybody ever asks me to do something, I try to do it right away, even with work. I work from home. If I get calls after hours, I will just, as long as I can, log in and handle them. I don't want people to have to wait on me. I want people to get their things taken care of, move on with their day, move on with what they're doing. They don't have to wait. I don't want to make anybody wait. I've even gotten calls at like 11 o'clock at night from somebody in Hawaii, and I've just taken it and said, okay, yeah, let's get you fixed. Log that 30 minutes, whatever it took, and then I'll go to sleep. I even had one where they called me at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I woke up and went over and handled it, and the end of the call, I remember saying, you sound a little tired. What time is it over there? 2 in the morning, you woke me up. But it's okay. I just wanted to get you fixed. I had a friend who wanted a computer in this time, and she wanted it in the $500 range, and I picked out something with the Ryzen 1600 and R9 Fury used and some other stuff, and I designed it for her that day, and she couldn't afford it, so 2 months later she finally says she's ready, but she needs to bump it down $100. I don't want her to have to like significantly worsen her experience or anything, so I chip in about $100 and get her that CPU. And we built the computer. I ordered all the parts that day. We built the computer that weekend. I showed her how to do it. We did it right away, got everything done. Anything that's gone wrong with it, which really has been nothing, I've just done right there on the spot for her. I've remoted in and fixed things. Her dad wanted a computer, so I designed it for him that day and said, look, I'm in the middle of moving. I'm trying to buy a house. As soon as this is over with in 2 weeks, I'll build you whatever you want. I don't need any money. You don't have to pay me. That's not why I'm doing this. I like building computers. It's fine. And as soon as that 2 weeks was up, it was actually less than that. I said, okay, I got some time. I got everything all ready to go. Let's do this. I ordered all his parts. We got it built early because a couple parts came in early. I was planning on bringing it to him the next week, and he said, could you bring it to me this weekend? I said, I'm busy, but I can work it in. Sure enough, I went out of my way. I was there until like 10 o'clock at night, getting everything set up, kind of showing him how it works, and I got it done. Anytime somebody wants something from me, I either do it on the spot or I tell them in an actual reasonable time frame and I try to make it right. I do it early if I can. I just handle it. People shouldn't have to wait on me. I don't want anybody to have to wait on me. We should get things taken care of and done, and it should be reasonable. And I just don't understand why I can do this for everyone I possibly can, but with such major purchases such as this, I just keep getting screwed over by practically everybody. Shop number one didn't listen to me, and I think as a result of that, that's what blew my engine. It drove perfectly before that. I had no issues until the radiator blew, and the radiator was 15 years old. And it hadn't been driven for a couple months at that point, just started up out in the driveway because it was winter. I barely drove it at all in that time. I'm sure that's what blew the radiator in the first place. Shop number two did a good job in a reasonable amount of time. They didn't know much about rotaries and admitted it to me. Shop number three took 170 days when the maximum quote was 42. I built him a website, and almost all of our discussion for that month was stuff about the website, and even months later, in December, he wants some updates and things. Say, sure, just send me what you want. I'll do it. He didn't end up actually asking me to do anything, but I would have done it on the spot, just like anything else. I would have done it. Shop number four, I never spoke with directly. They, as far as I'm aware, never did anything useful. They just damaged my car and took forever to actually fix it. Shop number five had my car for 56 days and did nothing. They were supposed to pick it up in January, and he said, yep, I'll pick it up soon. Didn't talk to me for like 2 weeks. Took him like a month after I first messaged him and he said he could pick it up to actually come and get the car, and then 56 days of doing nothing with it. Just all over the place. I just keep getting screwed over, and I just want my car. I lost my other car in the process of this because I couldn't afford to fix it. I've gotten 2 loans in this time to try to pay for this car, and I still don't have a working car. I feel like I've done everything right. I've been exceedingly patient. Anything they ask me to get, I say, sure. If you think it's a good idea, I trust your judgment. Let's do it. Let's do that. I don't even question the pricing. Like with the air pump delete, said $105. Do you think that's fair? Shop number 3, if you think that's fair, I trust your judgment. Go for it. I'm not going to argue with it on it. Even if I think it could have been cheaper or whatever, I'm not going to argue. They say it's fair, I'll just take their word for it. It's not worth my time to argue with it over $5, $10, and I don't know what it's worth, so sure, if you think it's fair. You know best. I don't think you're screwing me over, so here we go. But that leads us to today. It's been almost 14 months, and I don't have my car. And all I've been trying to do is try to do things right and help people and all this. And I just keep getting screwed over, and I don't get it. My friend suggested that I should set up a GoFundMe or something to help eventually fix my car with however much it's actually going to cost me, because who knows from this point? It's at a dealership. They're expensive. I tried taking it to them once before, but they wanted to charge $90 to test the fuel pump, $80 to check the codes. The codes I already told them. I don't know. I gave up today. I had to take it to a dealer because I just couldn't think of anyone else where I'd have a realistic expectation of them knowing what to do and actually having the work done. I know with the COVID-19 situation that's going on right now, it's definitely caused some issues and things, but I mean, at least be a little transparent with me and tell me what's going on. In the case of shop number 5, he's like, yeah, I got it in the shop and I'm working on it. The battery was dead whenever we got it towed today. He did nothing. It literally just sat there. And when I was talking to my friend, he said he was looking at a Snapchat story of a guy who's always over at that shop, and he always saw it out in the parking lot, never in a bay. So I'm sure he just lied to me. Just be upfront. Be like, look, this is what's happening. This is why it's taken a while. I'm sorry. You don't necessarily have to knock something off the price for me. I'm not going to ask you to do that. Just be upfront with me, telling me this is what's going on. This is why you're waiting. But that's not how it went. And I don't know. At this point, I'm ranting a little bit too much. But that kind of is what it is. And that's where we are today. I did end up buying a house, and it was very stressful for the most part, especially dealing with the car in the meantime, and that's part of why I just had it parked for close to 2 months after getting it back that last time in December. Of course, I would have preferred if he'd come and got it in January, but whatever. I don't know, I'm just trying to do the best I can. I just want my car back. I wouldn't even care about any of this if I just had my car back. If I knew how much I was going to have to deal with a year ago, as much as I love my car, I wouldn't have done it. I would have either shipped it to Atkins, or I would have traded it in. Looking at other options, I just didn't really see anything else that appealed to me. Not too interested in convertibles, or an S2000 and a MX-5 Miata, just weren't interesting. I don't like Mustangs, Chargers, Challengers, anything like that. I'm just not a big fan of American muscle. I like balance and kind of just I also like being unique. You know, I've got a white RX-8. There aren't exactly that many of them, especially not in this area. So a lot of people just kind of knew me by my car. Same thing with my Chevy. That one was a lot more obvious, though, because it was big, old, and ugly, but it was mine. And as a lot of people might say, it's an extension of yourself, and I think that is a perfect way of describing that car. But I don't know. I don't know. I think I'm just gonna stop here and leave it be. Thank you for listening to me rant for looks like 36 minutes about my car and just how screwed over I've been in a little over a year.